A special welcome to you.
Yeah, you know what we're all about here.
Exactly. We're here to do a fast but really comprehensive look into the core ideas of a landmark book. Today, we are unpacking Atomic Habits.
And the power of the book, I think, is right there in the name.
Right.
Atomic. It doesn't mean, explosive.
Right.
It means an extremely small amount. The single irreducible unit of a bigger system. Our whole mission today is to show you how the author finds this massive power in tiny changes
Yeah.
in these atomic habits.
Okay, so let's start where the author himself started. His own story is, it's pretty life-changing.
It's the perfect origin story for this whole system, really. He was a high school athlete, and he was hit directly in the face with a baseball bat. The injuries were just horrific. Multiple skull fractures, crushed nose, shattered eye sockets. He was unconscious, and they had to put him into a medically induced coma.
That's a total reset on your life. When he woke up, what was his baseline?
He was rebuilding everything, literally piece by piece. For weeks, he had double vision. It took 8 months before he was even cleared to drive a car again.
What about baseball?
He went back, but he was cut from the varsity team. He went from being this star athlete to, a reserve player. He said it was just humiliating.
But his journey back from that coma wasn't some, overnight comeback story.
No, not at all. It was driven entirely by this relentless focus on tiny daily improvements. He knew the only way forward was to start incredibly small.
And this idea, this power of tiny adjustments, he calls it the aggregation of marginal gains.
Exactly.
And the best example of this strategy in the real world has to be the turnaround of British cycling.
Oh, absolutely. Led by Dave Brailsford. Before he took over, they were a laughingstock.
Seriously, a century of disappointment.
Yeah, from 1908 until Brailsford, they had won a grand total of 1 Olympic gold medal. 1. No British cyclist had ever won the Tour de France. It got so bad that good bike manufacturers didn't want the team using their equipment.
Afraid it would tarnish the brand.
Exactly. So Brailsford comes in with this idea. Search for a tiny 1% improvement in absolutely everything.
Not just the obvious stuff, right?
Well, they started there. Redesigned bike seats for more comfort, rubbing alcohol on the tires for better grip, even electrically heated overshorts to keep muscles at the perfect temperature.
But the real genius was when they went beyond the bike.
This is where it gets interesting. They hired a surgeon to teach the riders the absolute best way to wash their hands.
Just to avoid catching a cold.
Just to reduce the chance of getting a cold. They tested different pillows, different mattresses, all to optimize each rider's sleep by just a fraction. And my favorite detail, which just shows you the commitment,
Painting the truck
painting the inside of the team truck white.
so they could spot any dust.
Any little bit of dust or debris that might degrade the performance of these finely tuned bikes. And the result of all these tiny 1% gains, it was massive. Within 5 years, British cycling won 60% of the Olympic gold medals in 2008.
And then came multiple Tour de France victories. It just proves that success isn't one giant leap. It's the sum of all these tiny actions.
Which brings us right to the foundation of the book, the compounding effect. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement.
That's a great analogy. But I think the challenge for a lot of people, for you listening, is that you don't see the results right away, and so you quit.
That's the plateau of latent potential. It's such a crucial concept. Think about ice. At 31 degrees, it's still a solid block of ice. It's frozen.
Right.
You could be adding heat, putting in energy, but you see no change. Then you hit 32 degrees, a 1-degree shift, and suddenly you unlock this huge change. Everything starts to melt.
So people quit at 31 degrees. They confuse the lack of immediate progress with a total lack of progress.
Exactly. The system is building up pressure unseen, like bamboo. It spends 5 years building this huge root system underground where you can't see it, and then it explodes 90 feet into the air in 6 weeks.
So patience is key. And you have to remember, this works both ways, right? Good compounding and bad.
Yes, it's a duality. Good habits compound as an ally. Your productivity, for example. The little habit of tidying your desk for 5 minutes every day frees up mental space that compounds over weeks.
And knowledge.
Yeah.
Reading one book makes the next one easier.
But the negative side is insidious, because the bad habit gives you an immediate reward.
And a long-term cost.
A massive long-term cost. Take stress. Avoiding one tough email gives you 5 minutes of relief now. But that habit compounds into crippling anxiety on Sunday nights, into years of missed opportunity.
Okay, so to manage this, we have to stop focusing just on goals. We need to focus on systems and on identity.
The outcome is always secondary to the system. Every team in the Tour de France has the goal of winning.
But only the one with the best system of tiny improvements actually does.
Right. And that system builds your identity. You have to shift from what you want to achieve to who you wish to become.
This is the idea that every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to be.
Exactly. When you write a single page, you are casting a vote for being a writer. When you choose an apple over a donut, you're casting a vote for being a healthy person. It makes every small action feel meaningful.
But what about slip-ups? If I define myself as a healthy person and then I eat a whole pizza, doesn't that just derail everything, make me feel like a failure?
That's where you have to remember it's just one vote, a single vote against. The very next choice you make is an opportunity to cast another vote for the identity you want. The system isn't about perfection, it's about getting back on track quickly.
And that brings us to satisfaction, the story about the guy who bit his nails, Clark.
Yeah, he tried willpower forever and it never worked. But then he got a manicure and the manicurist complimented his nails. He suddenly felt proud of them.
So he had an identity to protect. I'm a person with attractive nails.
Yes. And that immediate satisfaction of pride, that identity shift, it made the old habit obsolete.
Which is a perfect transition into the playbook itself. The 4 laws of behavior change. Law number 1 is make it obvious.
Right. The first step is just to become aware of your non-conscious habits. The practical tool here is the habits scorecard. You literally list everything you do in a day, drink coffee, check email, and you score it. Plus, minus, or equals.
Based on whether it helps you become the person you want to be.
Exactly. And once you're aware, you turn to your environment. The book calls it the invisible hand that shapes your behavior.
So true. The environment just dictates so much without us realizing it. Like that study in the hospital cafeteria.
The Massachusetts General Hospital study, it's brilliant. They didn't lecture anyone about drinking less soda. They didn't try to change motivation. All they did was change the choice architecture.
They just put bottled water in more places. Right next to the cash registers, in baskets around the room.
They made water obvious. And soda sales dropped over 11%, while water sales shot up by over 25%. Behavior changed effortlessly.
So for you at home, if you want to eat more fruit, don't rely on willpower. Just put a big bowl of apples on the counter where you can't miss it.
That's the whole idea.
Yeah.
You proactively design your environment. There's this great concept from a guy named Oswald Knuckles who calls himself proactively lazy.
Proactively lazy. I like the sound of that.
His whole thing is resetting the room. Not just to be tidy, but to prepare for the next action. When he finishes watching TV, he puts the remote away in a drawer and folds the blanket. It's all about making the next good behavior, like reading a book, completely frictionless.
That's smart. Okay, let's move to law 2, make it attractive. This is all about the dopamine feedback loop.
Right, and dopamine isn't really the pleasure chemical, it's the anticipation chemical. It's what drives the craving.
And those cravings are triggered by what the book calls supernormal stimuli.
Yeah, these are exaggerated, hyper-attractive versions of reality that our brains just can't handle.
Like the gull chick pecking at cardboard with 3 red dots instead of its mother's actual beak.
Exactly, and in modern life, we're surrounded by them. Junk food is a supernormal stimulus, an unnaturally concentrated blast of sugar and fat. Social media is a supernormal stimulus, an endless stream of concentrated social validation.
And to make our good habits attractive, we tend to imitate 3 groups: the close, the many, and the powerful.
Yes, our friends and family, the general culture around us, that social conformity piece is huge. You remember the Solomon Ash line experiment?
Where people were surrounded by actors who all agreed on an obviously wrong answer.
And 75% of the real subjects agreed with the wrong answer at least once, just to conform. So if you want to make a habit attractive, join a culture where that desired behavior is the normal thing to do.
And the last piece of attractiveness is reframing, shifting your mindset.
It's a simple language trick. Instead of saying, I have to go for a run, you say, I get to build my endurance. You frame it as an opportunity, not a burden.
Like the man in the wheelchair who said he wasn't confined to it, but liberated by it.
Exactly. Focusing on the benefit changes everything.
Okay, so even if a habit is attractive, if it feels like a ton of work, we still won't do it. Which brings us to law 3. Make it easy.
This is built on the law of least effort. We are hardwired to gravitate toward the option that requires the least amount of work. So you have to optimize for action, not just planning.
This is the lesson from that photography class at the University of Florida, right?
It is. They split the class in 2. The quality group had to submit one single perfect photo. The quantity group was graded on just turning in 100 photos.
And the best photos came from the quantity group.
By a long shot. The quality group was paralyzed trying to be perfect. The quantity group was out there taking photos, making mistakes, learning, and getting their repetitions in. Mastery is just repetition.
So you have to reduce friction to get those reps.
You do. You have to find ways to eliminate steps. Dating apps reduce the friction of meeting people. Voice-activated speakers reduce the friction of pulling out your phone. You make the good actions so easy that not doing it feels like more work.
And the opposite of that, for bad habits, is the commitment device.
Victor Hugo is the classic example. To finish The Hunchback of Notre Dame on a deadline, he had an assistant lock away all of his clothes.
So he couldn't go outside.
He couldn't leave his study without extreme embarrassment. He made going outside difficult, so writing became the easy option.
That's commitment. But we can automate good behaviors too.
Of course. Automatic savings plans are a perfect example, or even the first cash registers in the 1800s. They were designed to automatically lock the cash drawer, which made it much harder for clerks to steal. It automated honesty.
Okay, finally, Law 4. Make it satisfying. This one feels like the most important. The cardinal rule, behavior followed by satisfying consequences, gets repeated.
But the problem is we live in a delayed return environment. Our ancestors hunted, they ate now. Today, the payoff for going to the gym is maybe years from now.
So our brains crave that immediate payoff.
They do, which means we have to find a way to inject immediate satisfaction into our good habits. The hand-washing study in Karachi is a perfect example.
They knew telling people to wash their hands wasn't enough.
Right. Knowledge wasn't the problem. So the intervention was to provide soap that smelled great and foamed up really nicely. They made the act of washing hands itself slightly more pleasurable.
And it worked.
Diarrhea rates dropped significantly. The immediate sensory satisfaction drove the behavior.
So we need that immediate reinforcement, which is where visual measurement, like the paperclip strategy, comes in.
Trent Deersmid, a stockbroker, he started each day with 2 jars, one with 120 paper clips, one empty. Every time he made a sales call, he moved 1 paper clip over.
So you got to see his progress.
He got an immediate, tangible, satisfying signal of progress. Moving that clip felt good, and it reinforced the habit of making calls.
But there's a warning here, isn't there? Goodhart's law.
This is so important. The law states, when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. Tracking is crucial, but don't let the number replace the real goal.
Like focusing on getting 10,000 steps instead of the real goal, which is being healthy.
Exactly. You can hit your step goal by pacing around your living room, but that might not be as healthy as a vigorous 30-minute walk, even if it's fewer steps. Don't chase the number, chase the outcome.
This has been an incredible deep dive. So, to bring it all home, the conclusion of Atomic Habits is that success.
Yeah.
It's not about these massive revolutionary changes.
No. It's the cumulative result of tiny atomic habits managed by a clear system, compounding over time. It's how the author rebuilt his life, and it's how you can fulfill your own potential.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up, here's a final thought for you to explore on your own. Mastery isn't threatened by failure. It's threatened by boredom. The ability to just keep showing up, to keep doing the work when it's no longer new or exciting, that's what really separates the pros from the amateurs.
That's the Goldilocks rule. You have to find tasks that are right on the edge of your abilities. Not too easy, not too hard. Falling in love with the process, even the boring parts of the process, that is the ultimate atomic habit.
We really hope this deep dive gives you the tools you need to build better systems for your own success. Thanks for joining us on the Bookstack channel.